Do we? We don't do anything with it.
Harlan?
Yes,
We're alive.
we're live. Okay. So we're going to start off tonight's meeting with a hearing, and this will be a public hearing regarding the conditional use application from Gamma Pickleball Club for an indoor recreation use at the property located at 301 Deer Run Road. The way the hearing will proceed, we will first hear from the applicant, who will testify regarding the application, the proposed use, and then if there is anyone who wants to oppose that application, they'll have the right to speak following the applicant's presentation. Also, the board will have an opportunity to ask any questions that they may have of the applicant at the appropriate time. And then at the conclusion of the hearing, we will have the opportunity to take an executive session and discuss any legal matters that might arise during the course of the hearing, or if you have any questions of me that require a legal explanation, we can do that in executive session. If you don't think you need the executive session, you understand everything that's been presented to your satisfaction, you then may go ahead and vote on the application tonight during the course of your public meeting, which will take place immediately following the close of the hearing. So is that all clear to everyone? Good. Let me ask, I'm sorry, I forget your name.
Josh.
Josh, let me ask Josh. Josh, are you represented by an attorney tonight?
Not tonight, no.
Okay, so would you then stand, and if there's anyone else who intends to give testimony either for the application or opposed to the application, please stand and be sworn in.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And as the last item of housekeeping, we want to introduce a number of exhibits into the record prior to the testimony. So exhibit number 1 is a public hearing notice, which we are required to give under the Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code. And it states that a public hearing will be held by the Aleppo Township Board of Commissioners at 7:00 p.m. on Monday, August 12th, 2024, at the Aleppo Township Municipal Building, 100 North Drive, Sewickley, PA 15143, to consider a conditional use application filed by the Gamma Pickleball Club regarding indoor recreation use at 301 Deer Run Road. That'll be Exhibit 1 is the public notice. Exhibit 2, which is also required by the municipality's planning code, is the notice, the proof of publication of the notice that I just read, indicating that the notice was published twice as required in the Beaver County Times? Is that what we call it now? The Beaver County?
They
Okay.
changed their name and that's what we use.
The Beaver County Times, and we'll mark that as Exhibit 2. Exhibit 3 is a copy of several photographs showing that the property was posted in accordance with the requirements of the State Act. And number 4, Exhibit number 4, was the required notice to the applicant, Gamma Pickleball Club, dated July 18, 2024. Exhibit 5 is a notice that the hearing is being rescheduled, and that was sent to the, I'm just looking.
Notice to the adjacent property owner.
I'm sorry, yes. Exhibit number 5 are the notices to the adjacent property owners. Thank you. Exhibit number 6 is the actual conditional use application that was filed by the Gamma Pickleball Club, requesting the pickleball operation be considered as a conditional use. That's Exhibit 6. And the last but not least, Exhibit 7 which is the review of HRG engineers with respect to the application dated June 4th, 2024. I'm sorry, there is one more. Two more. Exhibit 8 is a recommendation letter from the Planning Commission dated July 5th, 2024. Exhibit number 9 is a copy of the C2 zoning district regulations, which are what control the application. And Exhibit 10 is a letter from an adjacent property owner, 79 North Property, 79 North Portfolio Owner, LLC, dated August 12th, 2024, with respect to their position concerning the pending application. And we'll make those all part of the record. I'll hand them to the court reporter. And with that, we can open the hearing, or we can move forward with the testimony of the applicant. Thank you.
I do have, is this the appropriate time to pass these out, or is that being after, or ask if this could be entered into evidence?
Whatever you wish to have
Super.
entered into evidence, you can
Excellent.
hand it up at any time.
Excellent. I have some.
Introduce yourself, please.
Oh, sure, of course. My name is Josh Taylor Martin. I represent the Gamma Pickleball Club. And actually, I'll hold on to these until I'm done with this initial bit, and then we'll pass those out if necessary. I'm here tonight to formally present our plan for an indoor pickleball and paddle facility, and ask that conditional use be granted for Gamma Pickleball Club at 301 Deer Run Road. The property is currently zoned Z2 as commercial industrial, and our potential use as indoor recreation requires conditional use approval and zoning variances. We have put our plan for a pickleball and paddle club before the Planning Commission as well as the Zoning Board, receiving recommendations that conditional use be granted, and we've also received variances to support the use of the property for indoor recreation. We have been searching for a property, the right property, for about 2 years now, and the right community was really what we were looking for, to build an indoor court facility. And we are confident that we found it right here in Aleppo. I have grown increasingly confident over the last few months and supporting committee meetings that our use will not disturb current businesses or residents of the community, and instead will enhance residents' quality of life through a fantastic recreational asset. A little bit about who we are, pickleball and paddle. So Gamma Sports, our court facilities cousin company, has been providing equipment for racket sports for about 45 years. We started in tennis, we played a little bit in racquetball, in squash, badminton, and then about 10 years ago, we stepped into what is the fastest growing sport in the United States, pickleball. Although the game has been played for almost 60 years, the game experienced more recent explosive growth thanks to, unfortunately, COVID, and a lot of play in the Sun Belt states, primarily retirement communities. Paddle is a newer sport to the U.S., still in its infancy. To rival the U.S. growth of pickleball, paddle is having its own moment all across Europe and in South America. There's currently, however, only one facility that has more than one paddle court in the entire state of PA, and that's in Philadelphia. Players of this sport tend to have a bit more of a racket sport background, but the smaller court size provides similar benefits and experience like pickleball. Both pickleball and paddle will be represented in our facility. The space at 301 Deer Run is just over 30,000 square feet. But when we're working to lay out and configure court spaces, the space 30,000 feet gets really small really quickly. Court size guidelines only allow us to fit 11 courts in that space. We are likely using three paddle courts and 8 pickleball courts in the building. We will have some seating, a small pro shop, but most of the building and the square footage is used for courts. and there is no way for us to add additional courts inside that space in the future. We have applied for 2 zoning variances and received approval for those variances. For indoor recreation, our use, the required variances were 2 points of ingress and egress. And for the size of the property, 91 vehicle spaces were required. As I said, both variances have been granted. Ingress egress with a letter of support from the fire chief with a plan to provide emergency services to the facility if the primary point of ingress and egress is blocked. And the vehicle space variance was provided with a letter of support and shared parking from Migrant, who owns the building, and a plan to ensure neighbors' parking will not be impacted. We did receive today the letter of support from our closer neighbor, the 79 North folks, Mr. Alcor, that previously opposed our parking variance. He now supports our use. Earlier I mentioned that I was excited about the opportunities for the community and the residents of Aleppo. In our preparation for prior meetings, we reviewed the ASO Joint Municipal Planning Committee notes. This facility will provide a recreational asset for the people of this community that doesn't exist anywhere else in Pennsylvania. This kind of business will allow residents to take part in the fastest growing sport in the US and the fastest growing racket sport in the rest of the world, all in their own backyard. Our hope is that this facility will be something that Aleppo will be able to take great pride in. Finally, when we were sent this property, 301 Deer Run Road, as a potential option, I was very hopeful that it would work out. My family has lived in Sewickley for 17 years, and we call it our permanent home. We've raised our kids here. And I'd love to be able to repay that positive energy by giving back to the community and provide a recreation option to a place that welcomed us so many years ago. In my time in pickleball, I've been with Gamma Sports for about 8 years. I have, as strange as it might sound, heard multiple stories about how pickleball saved or impacted somebody's life dramatically. Every time I hear one of those stories, I'm inspired to see how this sport can help to bring and spread joy to people of all ages. We hope to do that in Aleppo and across the Sewickley Valley. Thank you for your time and considerations. I hope to be able to answer any questions that you might have to make it clear that our facility is something that fits at the comprehensive plan and will enrich the lives of the residents of this community.
So let's expedite this a little bit.
Cheers.
So is there anyone here who wants to speak in opposition to the pending application? Seeing none and hearing none, let the record show that there are no objectors at tonight's hearing. With that being the case, I think we can open the floor for questions from the commissioners, and if we just maybe want to go around left to right, if anyone has any questions for Josh.
No questions.
Is there traffic control that's going to be at entrance and exit of your parking facility?
You mean like a stoplight?
Sign, like a stop sign?
There will be I think there's already a stop sign down at the bottom of, I believe that's called West? Yeah,
Or West Drive.
West Drive. So there's already a stop sign there. We will also be putting up, us or Migrant, who owns the building, will be putting up no parking signs along that point of ingress and egress to ensure that nobody parks there.
Thank you.
Has the noise affiliated with pickleball been addressed?
Primarily, places that have the biggest noise violations are outdoor courts, because these are indoors. The only one who really might be able to hear us during the day is Migrant, who owns the building and who has also provided us a letter of support for that. So we'll be only indoors in there.
Thank you. You've already answered my question.
Super.
How many staff would run a facility like that? How many jobs?
Yeah, primarily, we'll have a couple of pros or directors, of the racket activities, one general manager, and then likely a squad of probably 5 to 8 people. So in total, probably about 10 jobs.
And what are that typical hours of operation?
Yeah, that was set forth for the purpose of the conditional use, I believe. They said it was, we said it was 6 to 10 and not going to exceed, we can't go outside of those
Okay.
hours.
Any other questions from the board? Do we need an executive session? No, any questions for me? I can tell you that, just real quickly, the legal standard on granting or not granting a conditional use application is this: if the applicant meets the requirements, the conditions that are contained in the zoning ordinance, and obtains the necessary variances where he doesn't meet the requirements of the zoning ordinance, the burden would be on the board to show that he is not entitled to the conditional use being granted. So if he has met all those requirements, he is actually legally entitled to his conditional use. That being said, the letter from the Planning Commission and the letter from HRG Engineers indicates that all the requirements of the zoning were met previously, with the exception of the two variances, the one for 2 points of ingress and egress, and the number of parking spaces. And now that Josh has obtained variances for each of those, I think it's safe to say that he has met all the requirements of your zoning ordinance.
I apologize, I was on a medical leave, so I might have missed a couple of these things, but if you don't mind, I just know that over in both of these parts, it just seems to be rapidly growing, in my opinion. Like, there's a lot of business, Migrant has the new building. And maybe this is clear on the map, I'm not sure, but if you have reserved your 65 spaces, is there a chance that Migrant would grow and need to encroach on those positions where you wouldn't be able to fulfill that space? Or those businesses over there that just keep growing and growing?
Yeah, so between the two, or between the entire building, between
Yeah.
Migrant and us, I think we have, now I forget the number right offhand. There currently exists 45 spaces. We asked for a variance to have 65 spaces. I believe they have an additional 80 spaces over there. It was more of a concern for our purposes and for like neighboring purposes that we would actually encroach on Migrants' parking. And so Migrant has allowed us in off hours, so they only work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. They said anytime that's outside of their normal operating hours, we are free to use their entire parking area.
Okay.
So, and because in that space, there's only realistically 2 businesses, would be ourselves and Migrant. That would be really the only ones to kind of leverage that space.
So if there was a tournament, which I'm sure will happen, it would be on the off hours where all
Yeah.
of that parking would be available.
Yeah, because
Your
realistically,
neighbor, okay.
for tournaments, you want people to be able to play in them. And
Yeah.
most of the time, that's in evenings or weekends. And even with the limited number of courts that we can actually provide, Gamma, our cousin company, we held one of the largest pickleball tournaments in the country. We hold it every summer. This summer we shrunk down because we're going outside, but we held it at the convention center. And that was 700 people with 40-some courts.
Oh, wow.
So we know with 8 courts, the amount of people that we can really,
Yeah,
it's going to be greatly reduced. So,
thank you.
of course.
So do you
I was going to say, I
Do you-
love talking about pickleball, so.
want to know what your options are for the motion?
No, I think we need to start the meeting.
Yeah, I'm sorry, yes.
All right.
So I call the Aleppo Township workshop meeting of
Yeah,
August.
okay. Do you want to submit those as exhibits?
Only if people need or would
I would
like to
like
see
one,
them. Yep.
please.
Sure, yeah, so it's just,
Sorry.
So why don't I'll take one for the court reporter, and we'll make that applicant's exhibit 1.
okay.
And you can pass the other ones around.
And there's some numbers on a couple of these. They were more for purposes of the last hearing. But there you go, some nice big ones. And it shows the points of ingress and egress and, whoa, gracious, sorry Dave, come on in here. There we go. And then, there's one more that's necessary. It shows primarily the points of ingress and egress and the parking areas. The numbers that are there, if you do have a copy with numbers, primarily show the distance between doors. It was more for the point of some opposition that we had before, which now no longer exists.
Okay, with the introduction of applicant's exhibit number 1, we can close the hearing record and we can move into our regular public meeting.
So,
And we can excuse the court reporter.
I call the Township of Aleppo workshop meeting of August 12, 2024 to order at 7:20. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
President Jones,
Present.
Vice President Williams,
Thank you.
Commissioner Dara,
Present.
Commissioner Richard,
Present.
Commissioner Halukah.
Here.
Solicitor Stone.
Here.
Manager Patterson.
This meeting will be videoed and recorded and uploaded to YouTube, as all other meetings are. Do I hear a motion to approve the July 15th, 2024 legislative meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Do I hear a motion regarding the conditional use hearing by Gamma Pickleball Club?
I make a motion to approve the conditional use application of Gamma Pickleball Club for the operation of an indoor recreational facility at 301 Deer Run Drive, subject to the following conditions. 1, continued compliance by Gamma with the terms and conditions of the zoning hearing board's decision dated July 26, 2024, granting Gamma's variance to reduce the number of required parking spaces and number of points of ingress and egress. 2, continued compliance with the comments in the HRG review letter dated June 4th, 2024. 3, any further extensions of the proposed indoor recreational use with the expansion of any structures related thereto is prohibited and will require future township approval.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Congratulations.
Thanks.
You're welcome to stay. There's no need to stay. Presentation of the 2023 audit.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nice to see everybody.
Yeah, nice to see you.
Aye.
Whoop, don't trip.
Hello, everyone. I'm Travis Ganera, and I represent the firm of Mark C. Turnley, CPA. I'm here to present your audit for the 2023 year. I want to first thank all the commissioners for letting our firm provide this service for you guys every year. We appreciate it. I'm just going to go over this, make it short and sweet, because I know a lot of you haven't had a chance to review it yet. And after you guys get a chance to review it, I'll field email questions that Glenn and George in the years past have always sent us, and we'll respond to them. So the first part of the audit, Roman numerals, pages 1 through 3, is the independent auditor's report. And all this says is, it describes the auditor's responsibility of the report, management's responsibility of the report, and it says the township received an unmodified or unqualified opinion, which is a clean audit. You're in compliance with generally accepted accounting principles, which you want. So the next section of the report, Roman numerals 4 through I believe it's 14, is a management discussion and analysis part of this report. It's required by GAAP if you're a full account client, and it's just a summary of the exhibits and notes, which I'm going to go over here in a minute, and with some summaries of management descriptions of why the numbers increased and decreased. So the next part are the exhibits, which you guys will be more concerned about for your daily operations and how you guys budget. Exhibits A, B, D, and F are your full accrual statements. I don't want to say you guys don't care about them, but is not how you guys look at to run your day-to-day operations and your budgeting for your daily use. So I'm gonna go over the ones that concern you guys the most, which is C, E, and G. So Exhibit C is the balance sheet, and I'm mainly gonna focus on the general fund. At year end at 12/30/23, the township had about $2.2 million in assets, of which about $2 million of it was cash and investments on hand and available for use. The assets were offset by about $400,000 in liabilities, payables, and things the township owed at year end, leaving the township with about a $1.8 million fund balance for, to operate in the next current year, which is approximately about what your budget is yearly. Your budget's usually about 1.7, last year's 1.8 million. So in essence, you have a full year's of surplus to operate if you had no revenue coming in. You have about a full year to operate, which is good. Exhibit E is the P&L side, the profit and loss side, which just breaks down how much you guys brought in. During the year, you guys brought in about 1.5 million. The bulk of your money that comes in is taxes, tax-related real estate, EIT, business privilege, which is about $1 million of it, which is how you guys kind of rely on operations, is off your taxes. Expense-wise, you guys had about 1.5 million in expenses, which was more than revenues in excess, so you had about $120,000 loss for the year. But the main reason for that was the road program you guys did. You had about $400,000 in road program, which did not happen the prior year. Exhibit G is, once again, it's the balance, it's the profit and loss side, but it's budget versus actual. And you guys had a nice year. You budgeted about 1.2 in revenue and brought in 1.5, so you had a surplus of 244,000 in revenue. And on the expenditure side, you budgeted almost 1.8, and you're at 1.6, so you were down 200,000. Where you guys were over at is your transfers out to the capital reserve fund. To other funds, you transferred about 400,000 to 500,000 out, and you only budgeted for about 200,000. But that was due to the road program expenses and what fund we showed them in.
I'm sorry, what was that?
The last part?
Trailer that was used on?
Oh, for the road program.
Okay.
Yeah, instead of showing it in the capital improvement funds, it was budgeted in the general fund, so we showed it there, so
Alright.
that's all. But the money's in the capital improvement funds, which is not restricted. It's assigned, you could, if you were in need of money, you could use it for general operations. And then exhibits H and I is your police pension, which you guys don't have a police force, and your pension's fine, you know, for the retirees. And then if you go into the notes, debt-wise, the township has about $6 million in debt on your 2020 sewer revenue bonds. You guys are paying that every year, both normal, and your debt service fund has a healthy fund balance also to keep your payments on that. You had about 150,000 to the good last year from the money coming in from the authority that covered that debt. And then in the back of the audit, what you guys will use for budgeting purposes, schedules 1 and 2 is a breakdown by every category that you guys budget for between revenues, expenses, showing budget versus actual for the year. And like I said, all your categories were favorable for revenue. You had more revenue than budgeted. The same for expenses. You were well under budget for the bulk of them. So the township's operating good, hence why you haven't raised taxes forever, which is good. And so that being said, you have a healthy fund balance, and if you guys have any questions, I'll go into more detail if you'd like, as always, but I know you guys, once again, you haven't got a chance to review it. You're just getting thrown a 50-page report thrown at you, and then 5 minutes to look at it. So if you guys want to, like in the past, I know George does, and Gwen always types up a laundry list of questions and gives a couple days to get back to you on them, and we'll answer anything you guys need, so.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Any general questions tonight?
Anything we should be worried about?
Actually, no. I mean, like I said, you have a healthy fund balance of, like I said, 1.8 million, which for use, that's about what your current year budget was last year. Like I said, so you were for next year, if you had no revenue coming at all, you would be able to about get through the 2024 calendar year and break, and that's when you'd be, in trouble then. But you're gonna have revenue coming in. So yeah, you guys are in good shape. No need, in my opinion, to raise taxes or anything like that.
So our general fund is greater than general standard. Our revenues were greater than budget,
Yes.
and our expenses were less than budget.
we're less than budget except for the transfer, but that was because of the big road program you had on, you did in 23. So,
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
thank you guys, appreciate it.
Old business, paving update.
Got an update today. They had originally said that it was gonna be the first 2 weeks of August, but here we are. So now they're saying they are looking to potentially start the tar and chip work the week of August 26th. They said potentially. They will post signs a week prior, so we will let everyone know as soon as we know. It'll hit the latest news page, and when we find out, we'll notify. We're doing overlooks, so we'll notify the management of the industrial park. We're doing Smoky Ice Drive, so we'll notify RJ management, and then any other places that are gonna get it, there'll also be signs put up, so. We're hoping, they are not doing it next week, because they know they're, the week of the 21st, because that's the week school starts, so they're trying to get beyond that, so let first week or so of school happen on Smoky Heights Drive before there's traffic disruption for a couple days. One day here, and then another day like a week later.
Any questions? New business, proposal for code enforcement services.
So in the past, we had one person who served as the zoning official, the code enforcement official, and the building inspector. He's no longer with us, so we have had to find 3 different individuals to, or a different group, but we have found 3 different individuals to fill those roles. We use CodeSys for our building inspection. We use the COG program for our zoning officer, so they have a zoning officer they contract with, we contract with the COG to use him. And the one that we have been missing is the code enforcement officer who investigates zoning violations. So, for example, if somebody says, my neighbor built a fence that's too high, it's this person who would go out and measure the fence and then figure out how that gets corrected. So we have been looking for someone to fill that role, and I've been, for other purposes, spoke to Clint Riley, who serves as that position for Glen Osborne Borough. And he offered us a proposal for the services through his firm, which is Naira Engineers. And Harlan works with Glen Osborne as well and has worked with Clint before. I've worked with him on a couple of issues that seem, where we just checked in with each other on things, and it's been good so far. So we have, you guys have a week. We won't make any motions on any of this stuff tonight, but if you want to look over that proposal, let me know if you have any questions about that. It is a role that we do need to fill. So, it would be good to get a code enforcement officer in place.
You're going to ask me.
You worked with him?
I have worked with Naira Engineers and with Clint for many years, and Naira is a good outfit, and Clint has been a wonderful code and zoning enforcement officer.
So we'll take a look. When you're recommending this?
I am. I've worked with him, and that's a reasonable cost.
Did he make a presentation to us prior?
No, Wagner, we've not had him in before.
I'm sure if you invited him, he would be happy to appear.
Any additional discussion?
So he will be sort of dedicated to Aleppo, or is he also?
We would be as a consultant. He wouldn't be a full-time. We don't have enough to keep
No, I know
anybody
that.
in the full-time role, but.
Yeah. Is he servicing any other surrounding?
He serves in this role as Glen Osborne, for Glen Osborne Borough, but this code enforcement is usually not a position that would get any conflicts with a neighboring municipality. An engineer could have a conflict, if they serve 2 municipalities and they need to check each other's work or their own work. But in code enforcement is usually, he's just interpreting our zoning ordinance, and then he would interpret Osborne's zoning ordinance separately. So we don't see a lot of potential for conflict, even though he works next door, basically.
All right.
Any further discussion? Proposal for GIS stormwater system inventory?
So we have a stormwater system, and we need to update, look at that. And we need to update our maps. We need updated maps showing where our lines are, where our outfalls are, where our catch basins are. We had one done, a preliminary one done multiple years ago. It's part of the MS4 program, but it's time to update this map. And this can be accomplished under the general engineering, but because it was a specific project, I talked to HRG and they were offering a proposal for this, as a project itself, rather than just, hey, call, can you look this up? So, that's what this is. It's for some of their staff to go out, locate all of the catch basins and outfalls, and then design the, GIS the map all the way through, using the GIS that we already subscribe to through the COG. So,
Is this mandated by the county, the state?
we are we currently have a waiver for the MS4 program, so, we're not currently under a mandate for it, but it's also a best practice to have your
I'm
map.
not familiar with that.
Yeah.
What is that mandate?
MS4.
MS4,
Yeah.
municipal separate storms, it's 4 S's, municipal, and then 4 words that start with S. I can't remember all of them right now. And it's a program for stormwater management that is a state program that's required. Certain communities with smaller populations or certain different kinds of layout can get waivers for it, and we got a waiver. So we are not currently having to track all the things that we do, but we never know when that waiver is going to not be renewed. So having this map in place would be good for if they come back and say, no waiver for you, we can say, okay, here's the map.
Is there any impact on Masonic property?
For this, no. Just doing this stormwater mapping, it's just telling us what we have and where it is.
All right.
Any further discussion? 2025 budget planning.
Just letting everyone know that it's here again, budget season is here again already. The clock just spins so fast. And now that we have the audit, we have the audited budget to actual, because we always have the end of year, but then the auditors come in and adjust categories a few times. So it's time, so if anybody has any projects or priorities that they want to introduce for next year, let us know. And I will factor that in as I start to work on the numbers.
And Commissioner Haluka, Commissioner Jones, and Manager Patterson are meeting on the 20th for a preliminary discussion of the budget.
Take a note.
Any further discussion on the budget planning? Upcoming off-site meetings.
In the fall, we traditionally have 2 off-site meetings, one at Masonic Village in their large assembly room and one at the fire station to just kind of bring the meetings to the people. We have spoken with Masonic and they have offered up the October 21st, I believe, legislative meeting as a spot that's open in their calendar for their building. So if the board is amenable to that, we can go ahead and start planning for having that meeting over there. I will talk to the fire chief, I haven't had a chance to catch up with him yet, but we are looking at hopefully a November meeting over at the fire station if everyone wants to continue that practice as well, and if it fits with their schedule.
Does changing the venue of a meeting require a vote and any notification?
I advertise it.
As long as that would be the notification, but you should advertise it.
We advertise it, we post the building, and, on the day of, and then we put it on the website and notice it, and then it'll go out in the digest, it'll be announced closer to it, the month before we'll announce
Does
it.
it require a motion next week?
Oh,
I don't think it
we've
requires a
done that.
motion.
No,
Yeah.
you don't need a
No.
motion, as long as you advertise it as a change in the, venue.
meeting location change, yes. Mhm.
Any other comments on the off-site meetings tonight? Did we receive any communications from the citizens?
I don't have anything right,
No.
for this, I'll check and see if we have anything for the communications report next week, but I don't have anything for tonight.
Any additional business? Meeting's adjourned.